we consider two stocks here, and 12-month period, including excluding last zero period. It means the last December. So now here given the all stock prices, stock A, stock B. So in this case, our approach was to estimate the return first, then estimate the standard deviation of each stocks. Then considering the portfolio weight, then we calculate the portfolio standard portfolio return as well as portfolio standard deviations. So taking the similar process here, we can do the same thing in today's session also, but we have some particular consideration here, not like a previous time. So in that case, the last example, we calculated the monthly stock returns. So initially we calculated the geometric mean return. So continuous compounding return. Then we use the term natural logarithm. So in Excel worksheet, we use the equal sign ln. Within bracket, we have to give the relevant value, or we can get the series of data like that. So however, we can use the ln function here. So using the ln function, then we calculated the price differences and their return. So there are 12 points here: return measures, stock A, stock B. Then taking the each month return, considering all the 12 periods returns, ultimately we calculated average return. Taking the average equal sign average, we got the average return of the asset A, average return of asset B. Then we calculated monthly variance here. So here the monthly variance here, and then standard deviation. When you take the monthly variance, use the term equal sign, if you remember. VAR, variance, represent the population, we use P. Otherwise, we could have taken a VAR only, but here we have taken VARP, represent here population here. Within bracket, we got the value here. We consider the particular, if you remember last the 12-month period here, we got the some particular, if you remember that how we got that variance of particular data series, no? So like taking the calculated return measures. So now we have to based on the return measures. Stock A, stock B. Then stock A return measures 1 to 12. Stock B return measures 1 to 12. Like here, we can highlight the range. BRP within bracket, we highlight the range. Then it calculates variance of returns of stock A as well as stock B. So in order to get the standard deviations, we have to take the STDEVP. Again, we have to enter the STDEVP equal sign STDEVP. Within bracket, particular range. Highlight the range. Then we can go with the standard deviation. Then that is monthly mean and monthly variance, monthly standard deviations. Then second, we calculate the stock annual return for stock A, stock B, and variance value and the standard deviation of stock A, stock B. So when you get that, now we have taken the 12-month period return measures variance. Then in order to get the annual mean value, we multiply the mean value by 12, as well as annual variance also, variance value multiplied by 12. But when you get the annual standard deviation, then we have to take not multiply by 12 by standard deviation. We have to take that in this case, annual standard deviation equals SQRT annual variance value. Standard deviation of annual variance. So remember that in your examinations, you have to follow that kind of things. If you make a mistake, continuously estimate the wrong estimations. So you have to follow that process. Then later, we estimated the covariance value. So when you estimate the covariance value, then remember the equation for particular variance of standard deviation calculations. End of the equation, we use the value here, WA, or if there are two cases, WA, WB, sigma AB. So in this case, sigma AB means covariance value. So here, if you mention here two different assets here, then covariance between return on asset A and B. So if it mention that sigma A, it means standard deviation of return on stock A. If you mention the two symbol here, it means the between two. If between two means the covariance value. Here only one symbol, stock A, stock B, sigma A, sigma B, like that. In that case, this symbol represents the standard deviation. Or others we can write here WA, WB, correlation between A and B, correlation coefficient between stock A and B, then sigma A, sigma A, sigma B. If you remember this latter part of this equation, when you calculate the covariance value, correlation coefficient, multiplied by sigma A, sigma B. Then ultimately multiplied by WA, WB. So remember that WA means proportion of stock A, WB proportion of stock B. So then third step was calculate covariance and correlation using formulas and Excel functions. So in that case, we have options now. using the Excel functions, we can estimate the correlation coefficient. Using the Excel function, we can estimate the covariance value. So here we use, first we use some particular process here. We calculated range value of between return measure and the mean value first. So normally the covariance value between A and B, we calculate covariance between asset A and B. We consider 12 months period. 12 months period, number of months here. Then we have to consider summation stochastic return measure minus expected return stochastic. It means the annual return here. And then that value should be multiplied by return on asset B. So each month return measure and the expected return of stock B. So in order to calculate, in order to use this, calculate the covariance value using this formula, first we have to estimate the range value here between actual return of asset A at time period 1, period 2, period 3, period 4, like that, for 12 months period. Then the mean value of stock A, or annual average return of stock A. So between the two values, we can take the difference. So stock B also we can take the difference. Then we multiply this value by this value. And then we consider average value here, 1 divided by 12. That ultimately taking that summation total value of this range value, then we got the divide by number of months 12. Then we got the covariance value. So that is for exposed data. Exposed data. Past data. So then we calculated the correlation coefficient also using the formulas and Excel functions. Then ultimately we estimate the portfolio mean value and the variance based on the proportions of portfolio multiplied by their mean value, and based on the equation. Two asset case, if you remember the equations, we can remind that using that equation, we calculated the standard deviation of portfolio. Then that part is last time we did. So using the data table, for the calculated mean value and the standard deviation, mean value and the standard deviations, we calculated, we estimated for different proportions, sigma and mean values. Then highlighting the area here, ultimately derive efficient frontier. So that is the process. So at the examination, if you are getting that kind of example questions, then we will give you some instructions to in order to in order to estimate the enter the proportions. Some directions we have to give. Otherwise, you can't exactly select the particular direction. So in order to derive the efficient one, different proportions, and then sigma value and the standard mean value, and then in order to get the efficient one, then we have to give some idea about how we are going to select the portfolio proportions. So that was what we did last time. That is enough for the examination. But if you consider some particular advanced applications, if you are doing some research work, or if you are doing some analyzing practical scenarios, so the stocks portfolios are not limited to 2 asset case. In that case, the portfolio may consist number of stocks, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Then there may be n number of stocks in your portfolio. So in order to calculate the portfolio things, then you can take any number of portfolio, any number of asset in your portfolio, assuming different proportions. You can do that practical analysis. The analysis practically, but you have to start your base. No, you have to understand how you are going to establish that particular process, and then how you must be able to enhance the some particular things like incorporating different kind of portfolios consisting number of assets. So, for example, you can select a portfolio. Say, for example, there are 4 assets, A, B, C, and D. You can assume proportionately, if you have invested in each asset, then we can take 25%, 25%, 25%, like that. Or otherwise, you can assume 25%, other 30%, 30%, the remaining proportion is for the last one. So, in practical scenario, the assets can be utilized optimal way, changing the proportions of investment. So you can estimate the portfolio return on standard deviation based on some particular proportions. Taking the same assets, but changing the portfolio proportions. Then you can change the portfolio proportions. You can derive another sigma value and the standard deviation, sigma value and the mean value. If you change the proportions of investment using the same methods, you can derive number of estimations. But additions of different assets, that may be a simple case. But thing is, you must be able to how to apply that things. Practically, that can be happen, but theoretically, it is a little bit complicated. when we develop that approach. So if you have understood that how we are going to formulate that things, practical scenario, then we have a good opportunity. We may have a value additions in your things. Uh, so now we can consider the extension of this particular uh, example. I think if you have any questions, you can raise now. Then here indicate portfolio 2. mm, Portfolio 2. Example 2, 4 asset case A, B, C, D. Earlier we had 2 assets. A, B, C, D has following expected returns and variance covariance matrix. Then now realize that if you have 4 assets here, normally what we do, if you have a different kind of assets, normally we do calculations separately for asset A, asset B, asset C, and asset D. First, we can calculate the return measures. Asset A, asset B, asset C, and asset D. If you have past data, that may be like we did last time, we may have a 12-month data. Then estimate the returns using the LN values. Then take the average. If there are monthly, then ultimately we can take the annual one. So in order to get the annual one, we have to multiply by mean value. Now remember that. You can link with the first question. The second question is linked with the first question now. Then again, we can estimate the standard deviation. Similar with the previous one, you can estimate the each asset's standard deviation of return measures. Each return measures get the standard variance or standard deviation, and then we can estimate the variance value. Then we can get the annual one. If you have a monthly variance, then multiply by 12, we get the annual one. Then in order to get the standard deviation, then we can take the square root of that variance value. So for each asset, you can, however, you can estimate the return standard deviation, and then we can go to another step. So now before here indicate here variance covariance matrix A, B, C, D, column wise, row wise. So what is the meaning of that variance covariance matrix? If you can't understand that coefficient here 0.1, 0.01, 0.03, 0.05, 0.01 like that, the matrix values are there. What is that value? Variance covariance matrix. Why is it variance covariance matrix? So if you consider between A and A, if you consider the correlation coefficient A and A, A and B, A and C, and then we may have estimated the sigma value A, sigma B, sigma C, sigma E, D, E, like that. Then, however, ultimately, using the latter part of that equation, correlation coefficient multiplied by sigma A multiplied by sigma B, like that. If you have n number of stocks, then correlation coefficients uh, between I and J, then sigma value stock I, sigma value stock J, sigma value stock K, like that. That can be n number of stocks. Then ultimately, you can estimate the covariance variance value by considering sigma value, correlation coefficient multiplied by weighted value. So then the answers are ultimately come like here. So why here mention the variance? So between A and A, can we observe the covariance value? We can't observe. Between the same methods, we have variance value. Between B and B, we have variance value. Between C and C, we have a variance value. Between D and D, same method, variance value. Except the same assets, then the other combinations. For example, A and B, A and C, A and D. B and B, B and C, B and D. C and A, C and B, C and D. Taking the D and A, D and B, D and C. So those coefficients are covariance values. So these are variance value. Same methods. These are variance value between the same methods. We can't see the difference. In other case here, these values are covariance values. Covariance values. So we got the same coefficient here, no? 0.01, 0.03, similar with that. Then 0.03 here, 0.06, 0.06, 0.5, 0.5, minus 0.04, 0.05 here, 0.02. Those are covariance values. Any questions? If you have any questions? So now, taking this example, 4 asset case. So now you can assume that in this case, we can develop different scenarios. For example, he indicate the mean value of stock A, mean value of stock B, mean value of stock C, mean value of stock D. If you have proportions of investment, if you have 1 million rupee, you can distribute the 1 million rupee amount 4 assets here. You can invest to 250,000 rupee. No, yeah, we mentioned the 1 million, yes. 250,000. Stock B 250,000. 250,000. 250,000. Then altogether 1 million. So equally invested in each assets. So you can change that. But can we observe the changes in this particular coefficients? Various coefficient metrics when you change the proportions here? When you change the proportions here? No. Return measures are same, A, B, C, D. Covariance various metrics, same coefficient. When you change the proportions here, that may be here 300,000, 250,000, 450,000, the remaining value in stock D, 100,000. Altogether 1 million here. Even if you change the proportions of investment here, the return measures are same. Stock A generate the same return. Stock B generate the same return individually. The covariance variance matrix also indicate the same coefficients here. No changes. Now thing is now in this case, very simple thing is we have to understand that when you change these proportions of proportions here, so this may be one particular portfolio one. This may be portfolio one, portfolio A, portfolio B. So in other case, you can assume like here. You can assume here you have a 2 million rupee now. You have 2 million now. You can invest in portfolio A. You can invest portfolio A, or otherwise you can invest in portfolio B, or otherwise you can maintain two portfolios here. Portfolio, better we can take portfolio one, portfolio two, because we use the here stock A, stock B, C, D like here. So now, if you maintain a one portfolio here, then equally you can invest in each assets here. Then portfolio two, you can maintain a separate portfolio consisting different proportions. So investment in asset stock A here, that can be different value. Here 250,000, here 300,000. Here 250 now, 250. Stock C 250 now, 450. Fourth one 100,000 now. So in this case, you can invest 1 million rupee in stock A, 0.5. 1 million in stock B, 0.5. Or others you can say, you have 2 million rupee now. You can you can decide here, portfolio one, you have two portfolios, portfolio one, portfolio two. You can decide how much you can invest in portfolio one, portfolio two. In that case, the case can be whatever the proportions here, the component in each portfolio can be same assets here, A, B, C, D. As portfolio one also consists A, B, C, D. Portfolio two also consists same assets here. But the difference is You can decide how much you have invested in portfolio 1. Here, 0.5, remaining value in portfolio B, 1 million, 1 million. So in addition, in asset A, asset B, asset C, asset D, we can use out of this 1 million rupee here, 0.25 here, 0.25, 0.25. Second portfolio, 0.3, 0.25. Third asset, 0.45. Asset D, 0.1. These are the changes actually. You can think of one portfolio proportions, second portfolio, how much investment here. In portfolio 1, how much you can invest in asset A, how much in asset B, how much in asset D, how much in asset D. Then other portfolio, second portfolio, you can decide the different proportions. So in this case, ultimately, when you calculate the taking the overall portfolio mean and overall portfolio standard deviation, so risk measures, it means taking this 2 million rupee investment, you have two portfolios, like separate. Now we can think of like a two asset case. Similar with the two asset case, now we have a two portfolio case. So ultimately, application is same, no? The proportions of investment in portfolio 1, portfolio 2, variance of portfolio 1, portfolio 2, sigma value of each assets, and the covariance values between the assets. So those covariance values, the correlation coefficient, and the correlation coefficients are same value. But the only thing is changes in proportions of each assets, proportions of each portfolio now. So now, so in this case, if you consider the two asset case, then we can apply the same thing. Portfolio A, portfolio 1, portfolio 2, consisting different proportions here. Then we can apply similar with the two asset case, two asset portfolio. Then ultimately we can estimate the sigma standard deviation of overall portfolio. Sigma value of overall portfolio here. How much we have invested in portfolio 1, weighted value of portfolio portfolio 1, not A, with the, then the square value here. The variance of portfolio 1 plus second portfolio and its square value multiplied by variance value of portfolio 2 plus 2 into W1, W2, covariance between portfolio 1 and 2. And take the square root of that. This is the variance value. then we can take the square root of this value. That's the standard deviation of portfolio investment. Now you have to realize that part first. The investor wishes to consider the following two portfolios of risky assets. So now he indicate in portfolio 1 consists A, B, C, D, 20%, 30%, 40%, 10%. You can maintain the second portfolio. Their proportions of investment in asset A, B, C, D, and D 20%, 10%, 10%, 60%. As we explained earlier now, you may have total value 2 million. Then, so he indicate here, ultimately, the proportions are given here in each asset. Then here indicate, calculate the standard deviation and return combinations of portfolio 1 and 2. Similar with the asset 1, asset 2, like here, we can calculate the standard deviation as well as return values. Then second one, calculate the covariance and correlation of two portfolios. Then we can calculate the covariance value and the correlation coefficient of two portfolios using some tools in Excel. So in this case, we have to use some multifunctions because here indicate the covariance value. Because given the proportions, the covariance various matrix is given. So in between two combinations, A and B, A and C, A and D, like here, B and C, B and D, B and A, like that. So here we have to use the multifunctions. So third point here indicate if the investor invests 30% in portfolio 1. So here indicate in portfolio 1 here invest 3%, 30%. Then in portfolio 2, that should be 7% remaining. So out of this 2 million, 30% in portfolio 1, 70% in portfolio 2. Then 30% means 600,000. So 600,000 you can allocate among the asset A, B, C, and D proportionally at 20%, 30%, 40%, 10%. The 7%, it means 1.4 million rupee can be allocated among the four assets here: 20%, 10%, 10%, 60%. Then we can derive the portfolio mean value and the variance and standard deviation. So based on that portfolio mean value and the standard deviation here, as we applied previous time, with the different proportions of stock A, stock 1 here, you can indicate the different proportions of investment in asset portfolio 1, maybe 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, maybe negative value also. Or just maybe more than 1%, more than 1. It means you can invest all the money in portfolio 1 and you can borrow some money from the market. 1.1 means 1.2 means you can borrow from the market and invest in the portfolio. So now we have to do that calculations here. Now if you have understood well, now we can apply that. Now we have to enter the values in Excel worksheet. Now open Excel worksheet and enter the values. Now you can open Excel worksheet. Now you can enter the various covariance matrix. So here matrix here, asset A, asset B, asset C, asset D. Here also same. Asset A, asset B, asset C, asset D. So here asset asset A, asset B, asset C, asset D. So these are the proportions of investment in each asset here. We change the portfolio here, second portfolio, 20%, 10%, 10%, 10% like that. Now you have to calculate the starting from beginning. Now before starting the calculations, you must know how to convert column values into row values. Sometimes row values into column values, because now here indicate row values here 20%, 30%, 40%, 10%. In some other case, we have to use the same proportions here, column wise. So in such a case, then how to convert this so now before starting the calculations part, now you can now think of you have to convert these row values into column values. Include this portfolio 1, 20%, 30%, 40%, 1%, 10%. So now we can convert this into column values. So in order to use that, then first you can highlight the range here. Copy and go to that particular point here. Then select the paste special. So here indicate paste operations. Then end of the matrix here indicate the skip blanks. Then transpose. Then select transpose. Select OK. Then automatically it convert into column values. So likewise here you can say, for example, the second case, you are doing the same values here, portfolio 2, copy, then select paste, then paste special, select transpose. Then automatically we get the column values now, convert into column values. Then now we have a portfolio proportions column wise as well as row wise. Return measures column wise here. And now we can start the calculations here. Now we try to calculate or estimate means, variance, covariance of two portfolio, first we have to calculate the mean value, then variance, and covariance value. So here variance means between the same portfolio, between the same assets here. Yes, between the same portfolio. In metrics, we use the A and B, A and A and C, A and D like that. No? So in this case, between A and B, A and A and B, two portfolio. Then now covariance of two portfolios. Then remember, in order to calculate these values, sometimes you have to use the Excel functions and multifunctions. MULT. Multifunctions. You can multiply column values by row values. As we explained earlier, that WA means one portfolio. WB means, W1 means one portfolio. W2 means second portfolio. So in that one portfolio and the second portfolio, we have to use the matrix values here, column values, and then row values. Then we have to multiply row values by column values. In such a case, we have to use the multifunctions. Then first, you have to estimate the mean value of portfolio 2, portfolio 1, variance value of portfolio 2, portfolio 1. So when you calculate that, we have now you can calculate the portfolio 1, portfolio 2. Mean value. Then variance. and then covariance value. Covariance of two portfolio. Then if you like, you can calculate the correlation also. So separately, we have to calculate the variance of mean value and the variance of each portfolio here. Now in this calculations, remember now we have to use the multifunctions here. Now portfolio 2. So how to calculate the portfolio return? That is very simple. Meaning is proportion of investment in each assets multiplied by return of each asset. So now we have a values here. Return measures are 6%, 8%, 10%, 15%. Then the proportions are 20%, 30%, 40%, 10%. Now we have to multiply these proportions by these return measures, column values by row values. So in such a case, we have to use the multifunction. Enter equal sign M ULT. Indicate the return the matrix product of two arrays and arrays with the same number of rows as array 1 and column as array 2. Within bracket, represent the array 1 here. We are going to estimate the mean value of portfolio 2. Then portfolio 2 means proportions here. C10 to F10. C10 to F10. That should be put comma array 2. Then we have to multiply by column values. Here indicate A4, then we can log the column and row, and then G7. Then we get the answer here, 12% rate. 12% rate. You can check now equation was M multifunctions C10 to F10, then multiplied by G4 to G7 value. So what will happen if you just enter the G4 to G7? Now we can check that. MULT comma array to 6% to, we get the same answer here. But in some cases, if you want to copy that things, then you can log the column, the row values here. So in this case, we get the same answer. So however, for the mean value of portfolio 1, then now enter the values here, functions here, MULT array 1. So now we consider portfolio 1, C9 to F9, comma, same return measures here. (9.1% here. Now you can enter the equation here. As we enter here, equal sign MULT within bracket, we enter the C10 to, yes, C10 to F10, F10, comma, G4 to G7. So this is the equation. Then variance value. Now you can write here C10 to F10 means proportions of investment in asset A to asset D. Then G4 to G7 means return of each asset A to D. Column values divided multiplied by row values. So now variance value. So when you estimate the variance value, then we have to multiply proportions of portfolio 2. Now first we can calculate the portfolio 2 for the portfolio 2. Proportions of portfolio 2 multiplied by covariance matrix multiplied by proportions of portfolio 2. So now already we have given the covariance value matrix, various covariance matrix. Then taking the portfolio 2, we can calculate using multifunctions. So now remember there are in this case we have to use two multifunctions. First we can enter the equations, then we can write in a proper way. You can write in somewhere that between the different range, what are the values here? Variance value m multifunctions within bracket array 1. Array 1 means here proportions C10 to F10 multiplied by again multifunctions. First you can enter the equation, then later you can see what is this, what is the meaning of that. Then array 2, array 1 indicate here covariance variance matrix. Then between B4 to E7, B4 to E7. This various covariance matrix multiplied by proportions of portfolio 2. Then now we have to multiply by column wise portfolio proportions. Column wise portfolio proportions. Now here should be the, not the B. That should be D, 21 to 24. So in this case, we derive the variance value taking the multifunctions C10 to F10. C10 to F10 means here portfolio 2, their proportions, row wise. Multiplied by, again, multifunctions here, B4 to E7, this matrix. B4 to E7 multiplied by the column wise portfolio proportions. This part. D21 to D24. So likewise, you can estimate the variance for the stock, the variance for portfolio 1 also. So in that case, you have to use the multifunctions using the portfolio proportion here, row wise. Again, multiply by multifunctions here, metrics here, metrics values here, variance covariance value, multiplied by portfolio proportions here, structure proportions here, considering portfolio 1. Equal sign MMULT within bracket portfolio 1 C9 to F9, comma, again multifunctions within bracket. Now select the variance covariance matrix multiplied by the row wise portfolio proportions. Multifunctions C9 to F9, multifunctions B4 to E7, B21 to B24. That is correct. Now you can enter the equation here, insert text box. You can write here MULT within bracket, considering the portfolio 2, within bracket should be C10 to F10, comma, again MULT multifunctions within bracket, B4 to E7. E7 then portfolio proportions concerning the second one, D21 to D24. C10, F10, multifunctions B4, E7 multiplied by D21, D24. Then you can now remember. So what is the process of calculating this one? We to consider the individual case, then so he indicate the portfolio proportions multiplied by matrix value multiplied by column wise coefficients. So what is the meaning of that? Then very simple here. You can remember that if you have 4 asset case, A, B, C, and D, A, B, C, and D. So initially we consider sigma value here. Sigma value. Sigma A, sigma B, sigma C, sigma D like here. Again, this side also same. Sigma A, sigma B, sigma C, sigma D. And then correlation coefficient. Correlation between A and A. Correlation between A and B. Correlation between A and C. Correlation between A and D. If you multiply this sigma value, sigma A, correlation coefficient between A and A, sigma A. Second case, sigma A multiplied by correlation between A and B, and sigma value B. Then that particular multiplications, ultimately we derive some values here. Then that value similar with this one, 0.1, 0.02. Then, so if even if you have, I mention here same value here, similar symbol, it is not similar. So here indicated matrix, variance covariance matrix. Then again we multiply by this value by weighted value of A, weighted value of B, weighted value of C, weighted value of D. This side does the same. We get the weighted A, weighted B, weighted C, weighted D. This represents some value here. These values are here 0.2, 0.1, 0.1, 0.6. This side weighted value, this row wise here 0.2, 0.1, 0.1, 0.6. Then if you multiply this weighted value by this covariance various matrix coefficient and the weighted value again, then we get the some particular value. That value is the variance value. Variance value. So in order to get that variance value, we use this particular multifunctions here. Here you can see 10 to F10, this weighted value of assets here, column row wise, multiplied by multifunctions here, P4 to E7, from this one to this matrix value. Then multiplied by weighted value of proportions here, D21 to D24. Then ultimate answer is 20.4% for stock portfolio 2, 12.2% for stock the portfolio 1. Remember, you can compare this one with these values. Now already we have calculated 4 values here. Mean value of portfolio 1, mean value of portfolio 2, variance of portfolio 1, mean variance of portfolio 2. Now we have to calculate the covariance of the portfolio. Covariance of the portfolio. Then in order to calculate the covariance of the portfolio here, now first we can enter the equal sign and the multifunctions here, like here. Now we consider both portfolio. Covariance between portfolio 1 and portfolio 2. MMLULT array 1 means here we have to take the C9 to F9. C9 to F9, comma, again multifunctions within bracket, B4 to E7, comma, B4 to E7, comma, D21 to D24. That value is 0.0738. We enter the equation here. We can enter the equation here. Equal sign MULT within bracket C9 to F9. F9 comma again multifunctions MULT within bracket the matrix value here that is B4 to E7 multiplied by D21 to D24. Now so early case also we use the same multifunctions variance calculations. Here also we can use the multifunctions here, but you have to see the difference here. Now we consider here covariance of the portfolio of the two portfolios. We consider multifunction C9 to F9. C9 to F9 means portfolio 1. Then multiply by multifunction B4 to E7 various covariance matrix multiplied by D21 to D41 24. D21 to D24 means column wise second portfolio proportions. So here we consider first portfolio proportions. Now here end of the equation here we consider the second portfolio proportions. So here when you calculate the variance between the two portfolios, we consider C10 to F7. That means the second portfolio. Then the latter part of the equation, D21 to D24, column wise, same portfolio proportions here. Remember that. So in this case, when you calculate the variance, we use the same proportions of proportions of the same portfolios, beginning and the end of the equations. But when you calculate covariance value here, now we consider both together, taking portfolio 1 and portfolio 2. In that case, proportions of portfolio 1 multiplied by covariance matrix between the assets and multiplied by proportions of portfolio 2. Here portfolio 1, here portfolio 2. Here in middle point here indicate the various covariance metrics. So if you want to calculate here the correlation coefficient between two portfolios, then we can calculate that the covariance value here divided by, if you remember that combinations, correlation coefficient multiplied by sigma value, correlation coefficient. So if you want to take the derive the correlation coefficient, then covariance value should be divided by sigma A, sigma B, like here. So here we can take an square root of SQRT, square root of C14 multiplied by F14. That is the variance of second asset or second portfolio. Then 0.46 7801 equal sign. You can insert the equal sign covariance value of the portfolio, covariance value between portfolio A and portfolio B. Should be divided by SQRT square root of variance of here portfolio A, comma variance of portfolio B. Simply you can say covariance between the two portfolios divided by standard deviation of portfolio A, standard deviation of portfolio B. Then now, based on this mean values and the covariance values, and then considering some the portfolio investment here. In portfolio 1, here indicate the 30% investment. Then you can Now you can enter here, calculate the returns of combination of portfolio 1 and portfolio 2. Calculation of returns of portfolio A and portfolio B. So here is the portfolio 1 and 2. 1, portfolio 2. Now proportion of portfolio 1. The percentage is 0.3, 30%. Then mean value. Now we can easily calculate the mean value of overall portfolio. Mean written here. Mean value equal sign 30% multiplied by return of portfolio 1 plus 1 minus 30% multiplied by mean value of portfolio 2, F13, 11.13%. So here you can enter the equations. Return of portfolio A1 multiplied by proportions of portfolio 1 plus 1 minus proportion of portfolio 1 multiplied by return of portfolio 2. Then we get the answer 11.12%. Then variance of return. Variance of return then now considering the two-way case, we can enter the equation. Equal sign B28 B28 get the 2 times to power 2. 2 times multiplied by variance of portfolio 1. It means C14 C14 then plus 1 minus B28 and to power 2 times square value multiplied by variance of portfolio 2, it means 20.4 plus in 2 asset case, if you remember, we have to plus 2 into weighted value of 1 multiplied by weighted value of 2 means 1 minus this same proportion multiplied by covariance between 2 portfolios. The covariance value is this one, C16. 14.06%. Then now we can calculate the standard deviation of return. Then equal sign square root of this variance value, SQRT within bracket variance of return. That is 37. %. So here it is not difficult. B28 multiplied by C13, it means portfolio return multiplied by the weighted value. Both case we can consider 1 and 2. Then we have to estimate the variance of return. Variance of 2 portfolio returns. In that case, we can apply the 2 asset case equation. Weighted value of 1, its square value multiplied by variance of stock 1 plus square value of the weighted value of second asset and its square value multiplied by variance of second portfolio, variance of second portfolio returns plus 2 into W1 into W2. W2 means 1 minus W1 multiplied by covariance between portfolio 1 and portfolio 2. That is C16 here in this case. Then get the square root of that. then already we have calculated all the values here. So now uh, using data table, now first we can get the standard deviation, then mean value, then proportions of proportion of portfolio 1. So here equal sign, standard deviation is 37.67. Mean value is 11.13%. Then here you can enter the different proportions. You can starting point on negative 0.08, we can reduce 0.15. Zero point 0.15. So we don't get here the values here. This value minus 0.15. That should be 0.15. Yes, we can add that value. Point 0.5, 0.35, 0.2, 0.05. 1.6. Then now already starting point negative 0.08, we add 0.15. Now you can highlight the range here. Then insert. You can see here. No. Before we can highlight the range, then data, what if analysis, data table, then column wise we have entered the all proportions of portfolio 1. So input value here referring to this B28, 30%. We get the different standard deviation and mean values. Now we can take the percentage wise for the values. Now you can highlight the range here. Then insert formula. You can see here, we can select the appropriate one is this one. If you want to enter the stock A, stock B, stock C, C, stock D. Then return on stock A. Stock A is here. 6%. Then you can copy the return values here. This part we can enter the variance value or standard deviation value. So that value is not given in the example. So now not given. If it is like here, sigma value stock A, standard deviation of stock A, uh, 31.62%, 54.77%, 63.25%, 70.71%. If the return measures are 6%, 8%, 10%, 15%. You can enter those additional values also, and then you can you can take that now that so however here so then the efficient quantity is this one. Then appropriately you can enter the graph title or any other modifications. So this is similar with the two asset case. So if you know this process or if you are interested, you can redo that. You can recalculate the measures here, return measures, standard deviation, variance, etc. And that COVID is also considering the portfolio proportions here and estimate the overall portfolio return measure and the variance. And then standard deviation. Then based on that value, prepare a data table and with the different proportions here, derive the your efficient frontier. So this is the last discussions. If you have any questions now, you have to practice that. So if you are interested, you can recalculate and you can see that how it applies in practical scenarios. So designing different portfolios. So you can extend, incorporate some other assets. You can take actual data in the column of selecting from some column stock market data. You can observe some companies and their prices during the past periods. Sometimes you can take the daily values and then you can take the estimate average one, uh, then monthly one, then monthly you can convert into annual one, then assuming the different proportions and different portfolios, try to derive efficient frontier. So that is very interesting. If you are much, if you have understood well, and you can apply that practically. Uh, so if you have no questions, you can ask now. I think there are 3 students now. I don't know how are you going to answer the final examination question paper. So if you have no any questions, we can finish the session now. And I think this is the last session. Then after examinations, you may have, so you can read all the sessions what we have done in the classroom or online